All right, thanks everybody. Really appreciate your time this morning, this afternoon, this evening. We're going to talk a little bit about web AI, and the reason is I've kind of tried to do some crazy things with it. A little bit about a disclaimer here. Any of the companies that I refer to here obviously have their own trademarks. I'm not going to get into any of that type of stuff. So, and there's no forward-facing statements. So, just the trademarks are owned by those that own them. Agenda. What is web AI? Bringing local AI into DocuSign. DocuSign, probably, maybe e-signature. You've heard of that. I got some other stuff that I got to throw your way. The private agreement analysis in the browser, extending the approach maybe into Salesforce, maybe not. A local example, and hey, you can't have a presentation about something free code. A discussion afterwards with resources and next steps. So what about me? A little bit about me, 22 years at Thomson Reuters. I was an attorney editor, got into the programming side, definitely an analytical type of mindset per se. And then basically led a global DevOps shop for about 15 years of those 22. Past 7, I've been in consulting, and I've been doing a lot of Salesforce and DocuSign in terms of their software as a service products. Tech runs the gamut. I'm old, VB6, hello, ASP Classic. You're all too young on this call to even remember any of those. But got a blog. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. YouTube channel is at DC3IT Learn 471. I've got a lot of these videos up there with local AI, and more will be coming. And most importantly, I am definitely at least one French fry short of a Happy Meal. So if you're looking for really knowledge sharing here, probably came to the wrong place. But with that said, local AI, web AI, it's the consumer device, right? It's, in this case, a PC that I'm running this off of, and it's something I purchased from a local big box store here in the States, Staples, but you can get them anywhere online, of course. But it does have an Ultra 7 258V, an Intel Core Ultra. Now, I specifically went after that because I wanted the NPU. Does web AI really use the NPU at this time? It does not. But could it in the future? I think it's probably on the roadmap somewhere. RAM is 32 gig, which is good because half of that is basically eaten up by the graphics card. It can get an allocation from the BIOS, from the firmware, as to what it wants, or I can fix it in my settings to be as high as I'd like it. So right now, I just let the operating system, Win 11 Pro, manage all that for me. So web AI, consumer machines, in your browser, free, private, offline. We could go dark with the web, and it's still going to work for you because once that model is downloaded, you're good to go. You notice I really don't drain slides, so I think we'll make these available, Elizabeth, to folks, if that's okay. Options that we have today in early 2026, basically end of the first quarter 2026, the awesome Chrome built-in AI APIs. That's where a lot of my work has been thus far because it's just been so natural to be able to do it there. Transformers.js, though, are becoming a very fast follow for me. You have just seen, as of April 1st, and it wasn't an April Fool's joke, the great folks at Hugging Face converted Gemma 4, the latest release of the large language model from Google, into an ONX model, ONNX. I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly. So Transformers.js has a plethora of large language models that have been converted from their Python world into a JavaScript-centric world. And with Transformers.js, you can use them in the browser, all locally, all privately. The final one is a big dog called WebLLM. I've not really dabbled in that world. It seems that it is the biggest one that can handle the most robust models. I think as we get further into this space of more small language models, we'll see whether WebLLM is really going to be truly necessary or a good thing to have. And the play there is still with the web GPU. So the web GPU here has been the common theme across all three of these areas. Without the web GPU, we're probably not going to have this discussion today per se. How do you get to this? If you've not tried this before, and I'm never talking down to anyone, I just don't know where we all are on the call in terms of if you've used this tech at all. Right now, they're still behind Chrome flags. Now, this is the prompt API that I'm specifically targeting for this presentation. There are some other APIs that have gone general acceptance. They're not part of any of the flags. I think the folks at Google are fine-tuning this, making it even better than it already is, and I'll hope to show you how cool it is already. But it's still behind flags, but you don't need Canary, you don't need cutting edge. Anything greater than 145, I think, which is, we're at 147 heading into 148 in terms of the browser version. Couple of examples for us today, which one is going to be the DocuSign CLM. We'll talk about what a CLM is, just to give you a little grounding there. Salesforce, and what Salesforce is with an LWC, which is short for Lightning Web Component, and then a desktop version that I built, which again is free. It'll be given to you guys with my GitHub. CLM, it stands for Contract Lifecycle Management. And as we look at the DocuSign product here, what I'm going to try and give you is a high level of what that is. So you're a legal in-house group, or you have lawyers. They need to store their documents somewhere. So this is first and foremost an online repository. Google Drive on steroids. But at the end of the day, it also allows for workflow management. It also allows for review cycles, tracking all of that. I think most software is a tracker. Okay, I really think that's fundamentally what most software is built for. It's tracking something. This is what this does, but it does it for contracts. But it could be any document, really. So you could swap the contract out for content. So what's the backstory about this? Well, I'm working with legal agreements every day. There's a life cycle to that agreement. It starts with either our paper, what they call the in-house document, that the lawyer has drafted something or the attorney's drafted something, and you want the counterparty, the person outside of your organization, to sign that agreement, whether it be a non-disclosure agreement, a master service agreement, data protection. All of those are out there. You guys have signed things for work. I'm guaranteeing that. So all of those agreements need to be managed, right? They need to go through a process of review. They need to go through a process of get it out there to get signed. What if the counterparty says, I'm not signing your terms? I don't like this. I want to negotiate a better bonus. Well, then you have something called red lines. So as part of that process, as part of that document management lifecycle, you have a system here, the CLM, one of numerous ones out there, that will track that for you. You'll know where your document is. It integrates with other SaaS providers like Salesforce or ServiceNow and other bigger players. So again, you're kind of using the right tool for the job. Not everything is a nail, therefore it's only hammers. This is different. This is for really that review cycle where it's internally within the business as well as externally, and then a signing ceremony. With that said, I have tasks, just like I'd have an inbox for anything like email, etc. I can come here and I can pick up tasks that I need to work. So in this case, I have created a page here called a legal service request. Now, let's say I'm the attorney and I've got a question about this agreement. So this agreement has come in, it's our paper, but someone's redlined it. So we sent this out to the counterparty. We said, you need to sign this to do business with us. We see it every day, whether you're buying something or you're selling something, it doesn't matter. So this agreement has been sent out, it's come back. And now it's with legal. So I'm acting as the legal person and I'm shepherding this document through a review cycle. Well, what I've exposed here now is local AI. I'm allowing myself to enable my local AI, which is my Gemini Nano. So everything's enabled in this browser. Gemini Nano is fired up. I've got my language model instance created, and I'm going to just start asking some very simple questions about this agreement. Where are the privacy clauses? Okay. So now the LLM is spinning up, and I will showcase my GPU here as well. Let me get to that and bring it in, and you can see we're starting to write some stuff out. So my GPU got an initial spike, okay, to hit it and say, all right, you got to get going here. This guy needs some information. So here it goes. Now, we know that the models are non-deterministic. They're fundamental in that way in terms of their design. You can't really get past that. So you ask that same question twice. So does that mean the prompt is bad, the system prompt? We've heard a lot about harnesses, and with the Claude code leak, how really they are just doing massive harnessing to really make sure that it tries to become deterministic when it gets to their model. I find that a little bit humorous because it's just reinforcing how non-deterministic things are. But again, hammer and nail. Is an LLM in the output useful for everything? No. There's distinct use cases for this. Okay. So if I was new to this paper, I'm brand new to the company, I got hired into the legal department, I really don't know our paper yet, I can start asking questions. None of my data leaves the page. None of it leaves this device. And if I look at my network tab in my dev tools, I will see that there's nothing going on with this. How many clauses are there? So here I go. I'm sending another request. You would normally see network traffic with that, right? You would normally hit something of, okay, I'm reaching out, OpenAI or Anthropic or whatever, and I'm passing keys and I'm paying money for this. This is costing me nothing. Right. So you can spend all day interrogating this, but what you see off to the left is a really simple form. Is there an opportunity here to potentially create an agent? And about 15 minutes before our call, I was starting to go, maybe I want to show something like that. So no network traffic, nothing's leaving our drive. Everything is staying in-house. I can ask whatever questions I want, get those informations. I can then copy and paste if I wanted to. My longer term goal, which again, I just started, I'm just looking over here to get my actual pre-canned prompt. My long-term goal is to try and really use this in an agentic way. So I wrote a little code. Now, and I'd love for folks to help me understand this because I am not that smart. But an agent really, it's code. And I've heard of agentic loops. I think we can safely assume the large language model is not executing code. It's not. What it's giving back to the user, though, or back from the prompt, the ask, is potentially instructions to code. And that code then can use traditional conditional logic, whether it be regex with that to figure it out, or you're using JSON with a response, and then you're saying, okay, pass that into your functions and execute. I'm believing that's what agentic AI is. I've not seen anything, but create an LSR request. So it's a legal service request for the privacy team. So I'm giving it a hook. I call data points a hook. So in the review group, we have the choices here. Privacy is one of them. And I want the privacy team to review the red lines in company paper. That's my request type here. So I've got company paper, third-party paper. And third-party paper being somebody outside of your business. It's not your paper. And include relevant sections that pertain to it. The due date for the review is May 10th. There's the due date. And then obviously the larger request is give me a request description. So when I send this off to the model, I also now in my code append some additional prompt to it. And that additional prompt is in effect saying, hey, go ahead and let this thing create this. But once you're done generating this, I want you to generate JSON. And in that JSON, I want you to pull the facts from what you've pulled here and fill in the JSON key value pairs. And I've specified the key pair, the key name, and then the values coming through. Now we'll see here in the output, if once we get there, if it worked really well. It's still kind of touch and go right now in terms of what I'm just dabbling with, but then that JSON that gets returned should be consumable by the code that I'll have. There it is. So it got it right. Privacy, company paper, the request, the need by date, and then the request description. It's going pretty long. I don't think it's the full deal for the request description. That's what I'm still working on, and I don't think I'm going to leave it up to the LLM to reproduce there. I think what I'm going to do with my code is I'm probably even going to remove that. What I'm trying to do is actually give this output right here a unique ID. And then I'll hang on to that unique ID. So let's inspect this, see if that worked. So just screwing around here, but yep, there it is. So I've got a UID on that. All right. That means technically I should be able to get the inner HTML out of there. And my hope would be that by grabbing that in my code, I can then do what? Well, I can then populate these values. So I should be able to create my first agent that just with simple JavaScript now takes this JSON with basically three things, goes in, selects privacy, goes in, selects the request type of company paper, goes in, puts in the need by date, and then I just want to dump into this text area the actual text that's up here, up above the JSON. So to privacy team, blah, blah, blah. Boom, put it right in there. Maybe future video, maybe future session with us if I can get more agentic stuff going. This is an implementation here, guys, within the DocuSign SaaS product. Kind of neat. Now, how does this really allow this to happen? It's because DocuSign's architecture is open. I am allowed to write HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. This is called an e-form. And it's just, hey, give me a window in, but what have they done most importantly? Not only is the window in, I have full access to the DOM. I have full access to the browser features. Without that, our next example shows up. And that example is the Salesforce world. So you can see over here, we've got some cute web AI things. Oh, this is awesome. This is going to work. Yeah, it doesn't. So what's the problem? Well, what we're going to see here, let's reload this quick. That's the Lightning Web component that I was just clicking on. This is a Lightning Web component. You can think of it as an island inside of their larger architecture if you want to go that way. Sum and substance, though, it's so security restrictive that it's not allowing me to work with local AI. You can see my direct window local AI check is false. And my keys, I don't see the language model. So that's a problem. I can't get to what the browser is offering me. I turn the flags on. The language model is available to me. You saw me use it inside another SaaS product. No harm, no foul. Not for purposes of Salesforce. No. So the LWC is so locked down as a drum, I'm kind of bricked, to say the least. But this won't send anything. This won't trigger anything. I can get a cute little toast. That's great. This guy is another approach. Now, this is a legacy approach called visual force pages. Let me tell you what Salesforce is. If you don't know Salesforce, it's a customer relationship management tool. The old Rolodex back in the old days, but modern. It's obviously this product. It's been around since the 90s, and it's iterated over the years. But for sales, the sell side of things, this is what a lot of folks use for customer relationship management. Well, the older tech, the pre-LWC, and this was me talking to Gemini last night till late in the morning, going, what am I missing here? Because I'm not a Salesforce expert. I play one on TV. But a visual force page is an older type of HTML inclusion in their architecture. So this one does actually get us through the actual maze gauntlet of all the great security stuff that Salesforce has done. You can see the language model is available and true. Well, that's the visual force. So visual force allowed that to come through. But now my problem is if I want to try and send something to my Lightning Web component to then process it and return it, I'm dead. So what we'll see now is when I hit send, it's like, hey, access permission denied. You can't get here. The permission policy is not enabled. And this is apparently a design that they wanted. This is apparently what they've got. I'm going to try and figure some more things out here because to me, this is hugely important to allow someone to work with this data and not have to use back-end servers for it. Now, Salesforce will sell you that stuff, as will all these companies. But look, you've already got my data captured. It's already in your database, and I'm okay with that. But I'm not okay if I'm going to do analysis and ask for other discrete information about it. That's something that's maybe a competitive advantage that I put together. So with that said, Nico Martin, who is just like, guru at Hugging Face, built a extension, and it is available on his GitHub. And you can download the assets, you can run them through a little bit of node chicanery, and you can compile it into a unmanaged, essentially, extension that you can sideload. So this is Nico's work here, and in there, he's already presented some tools, so you can ask the website, you can open tabs. So he's already got some agentic things, I guess, is what you'd call that today. And you can then start to ask away. Now, I've not really dabbled with this, but this is Gemma 4. This is what I talked about before. I have downloaded that model. It's 3 gig in size. It's now locally on my hard drive, and I can start to ask questions about this page. What is this page about? And depending on my machine, my spike in my GPU, the performance of Gemma, well, I'm going to get some results. So that's another option, but I kind of prefer it being embedded in the page. I just don't want an extension. There's places where extensions are not allowed. So that's another thing to think about. So while this fires up, okay, please provide the page you're referring to. Okay, but again, this is a commercial big box computer. It's not super powerful. I'm not running NVIDIA chips. I'm not doing any Spark stuff. I can't afford it. But at the end of the day, I don't want it because this is performant enough. Okay. Let's head now to our final example because you've been listening to me talk far too much. And this is basically an HTML page. Pure HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. It is available through my GitHub. It'll be in the resources slide. I've MIT licensed it. I built on the shoulders of giants. This is nothing magical, but it's essentially zero dependencies when it comes down to it. I've used just pure HTML and CSS and JavaScript, I think. Yep, I don't see any script tags that are pulling out of this. And actually, the streamer, you're gonna need to have the streamer that comes in for the markdown streamer. Anyway, long story short, let's kick the tires. So you can see here, this is my C drive. Okay, this is my hard drive. So this page exists on my hard drive. I'll refresh it just for grins. I'm going to enable it. Then you kind of see a little bit of a theme with me, the toggle switches, and then he's got the local. So I built this first as my proof of concept. Can I build an HTML page? Can it work with the local AI and the web AI? Can it do what I need it to do? And then when I knew I had kind of the Puritan approach here, I cut it up and put it into these other SaaS providers to jump through their hoops. DocuSign's hoops weren't really bad. Salesforce's hoops are becoming very challenging. I also have ServiceNow on my to-do list, but this runs the gamut. Very simple. I'm a big fan of XML and markup. XML, and boom. Okay, so local, there's nothing happening here. Let's close this puppy. Let's go back to our inspector. Let's definitely double, triple, quadruple check. There's no network traffic. So this is all local. This is all pulling up, and this is just giving me whatever I need. As far as read speed goes, it's more than acceptable for me. Is it flying? No, I wouldn't want it to, because then I can't even catch up with the speed with it's writing. So is it using enough information? I think so. And I've been doing XML for a long time. So I'm seeing goodness here. I'm seeing what should be coming out of this. So by building this gave me my foundation code, again, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, to then be able to just go and start to splice it in. So it's available off of my GitHub. I do have the link in the resources. There's no phone home code in here. You're happy to go through all of it, take a look at it. I have 3 methodologies that can be employed, and these were taken from developer.chrome.com, where I kind of cracked the code of a lot of the script and said, okay, all right, I see what you're doing. Okay, yeah. And I gave it a little bit of my own twist, but not by much. But this third approach works pretty well. Now, there is the DOM purifier, which is a good thing to have. And I do have that enabled inside the DocuSign environment, because that's not a general bot that I want just anything to be thrown into to be concerned about. So that way I purify it. And if someone's being a little bit facetious or trying to play games, we'll just kick you out of there. But in this one, it's more general purpose. But and it won't write a XML if I didn't turn that off, by the way. So anyways, if you want to enable that to make it a little bit more safe, go ahead. But it's using a markdown, basically CDN, to pull that in for the markdown output. And that's what some of the examples on the Chrome developer stuff did. There's all of 571 lines here. If you strip out my comments, if you strip out things, there's probably under 400 lines at the end of the day. So really powerful stuff that we can do in almost May of 2026. So I think that is the content I wanted to cover. Here again are the resources, the browser-based sites that I looked at to really trying to get myself there. The working demo you can find on my GitHub. The source code is also available for free. Just take it, download it, repurpose it, extend it, make it awesome. And happy to answer any questions. Thanks. Yeah, Matthew, go ahead.
Yeah, so for the Salesforce page that was locked down, I wonder if you have access to navigator.gpu in that context.
Good question.
Because,
good question.
Oh, I guess we can just check right now.
Well, I'm going to have it right in the browser. The thing is, I'd have to console log it out from the server side. So when these get,
I see.
Yeah, so this is all being served up. I come from a long ASP.NET background.
Mm-hmm.
So in those days, early 2000s and on up, you were heavily locked in terms of what Microsoft wanted to allow to come out to the browser. This is the same model. It's the same. It's like 2004 all over again here. But I've turned off through the settings. It's a great question. That's a great point. I've really tried to, I don't want to say break it, but I've tried to snake through it and get past it. What I'm hopeful for is when the prompt gets outside of the flags, then Salesforce says, okay, yeah, we want to enable that. Now that's a big question, because they sell licenses to have you use their, it's just wrappers anyways to the frontier models, but they make money on that, right? So I don't know. I don't know if this will ever be something I'll be able to accomplish. I will do my darndest though to figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I ask is because if like the built-in AI stuff, I think is maybe a little bit separate from navigator.gpu or itself. And you could go the transformers.js or MediaPipe tasks Gen AI approach, where you just sort of like run the model in WASM as opposed to trying to talk to the Chrome built-in stuff.
I love it. Now, I want to do transformers in here. Here's another fun fact. You are not allowed to pull CDNs in here.
Oh, that's annoying. But you are able to serve some amount of JavaScript, it seems.
I can serve some JavaScript. They bastardized it a little bit to their flavor, which again, I'm never a fan of.
Okay. Yeah, that might be pretty locked down then.
It's It's a challenge to say the least. And if I figure it out, I'm going to share that with you as well, because to me, everyone should be able to do this. I'm a big fan of democratizing things. I'm not a big fan of you have to do it this way. Well, that's horseshit. But you're onto it. One of the issues though too is they've got this thing so tight as a drum. You actually have to download the assets and put them into their box as static resources. Now that blows chunks, because you're deliberately locking me out of being able to pull the latest and greatest from a CDN, which is going to deliver it much faster and more securely than if I have an old version that maybe has a problem in it and I'm not updating it as regularly. So if they're really trying to preach safety, I don't think they're achieving it with that outcome. But it's a good question. And yeah, this has been a little bit of a nemesis. I hope ServiceNow is not as restrictive. I hope ServiceNow is more akin to what I'm able to do inside of DocuSign. Speaking of which, as I mouse over this is a page I built over 2 years ago. As you can see, I used to call ChatGPT 4.0 and 4 Turbo, and spent my own money on that, as well as some good old Claude 3.7s and 3s. What was that meant to do? It was meant to be a battle of the bots. And with a very rich RAG prompt, I was able to go to those LLMs, pull back the responses, have the LLMs, trial and error, of course, prep what I wanted from the RAG purposes, and then feed that into this is datatables.net and chart.js. So a bunch of code here, don't get me wrong, but I ran this same one just today hitting Gemini Nano. So what I'm able to do with the older models, with the current models, I'm able to do with Gemini Nano locally. So performance isn't great, but I need to refactor this. But this is, again, another concept of, look, if you want to expose the data, well, I want to work with it because it's in the DOM already. It's in this page. I can go after it. I can convert this to Markdown and send it off. I can go and take these tables and convert them into Markdown tables and then interrogate them. Anything in a page now, to me, if you take the JavaScript mentality that I take, is submittable to the local AI. And you can then do whatever you want with it. So it makes it super extensible. So good stuff. Other questions? Yeah, you guys don't have to raise your hands. Just try. Go ahead.
Hey, thanks for the presentation. Yeah, thanks for the presentation and sharing your passion and motivations. It came through very clearly for me. One thing that I'm curious about, obviously you had the extension. I'm wondering, what's the pain point or motivation for you to want to have it embedded within the website? I'm curious to see, because obviously you're working with this day in, day out. Curious to see what's the push behind that.
Yeah, and it's just an initial approach right now, I'll be honest with you. Being in consulting, you are using other companies' computers. They lock you down. They're not going to let you use things. And I understand that. And they're in their rights to do that. But if I can run a simple page, they're not stopping that. And if that's not sending any of their data anywhere, they're not stopping that. Also, from this perspective, hit them where they are. If I constantly have to leave this open, we're eating screen real estate. If I have to remember to click it, it's a fatigue issue, I guess. But from a UI UX perspective, if I can keep everything on the page, I've kept your focus where it needs to be. And with WebMCP that's coming, I should be able to have even greater agentic use without having to scrape the DOM through an extension, which is what this extension presumably is going to do. It's going to suck in all the nodes and then try to understand. And that's the whole thing about WebMCP. When it gets here, you can put those hooks into your components, and then it's not the scrape or the screen grab and try and figure out what to do with something anymore. You're giving it more hooks, more instructions. Well, I kind of have that by living on the page, and it just travels with the app. Yeah. So I'm definitely not against, but there is a passion, I think, that I say, wow, why can't I just sit here and ask away and not have to detract from wherever I want to go? It's just a thought. Yeah.
If I can follow up on that, no, I totally get that. One of the folks that always inspired me in the graphics community was Brett Victor. I'm not sure if that rings a bell. He has a great talk called "Inventing on Principle." It's one of my favorite talks ever. But he has this idea of direct manipulation, which I think is exactly what you relate to. Is that, hey, like, we should allow for the user to directly manipulate the things that they're doing instead of having a level of indirection, right? And by the way, so very much so aligned with this philosophy. I totally get it. Just spitballing an idea here.
Sure.
What I wonder, if you take your idea further, do you see something? I wonder how you can pull this off. Maybe it's like a script that you put into a site, but instead of having it, obviously, with every website, the UI is different. So you don't know necessarily where this element is going to sit, right?
Yes.
What if, I'm curious, if you injected a script and it provides the same interface, which could be like a very beautiful floating chat bar in the bottom, right?
Sure.
Like a bottom menu bar.
Yeah.
And then from the user's perspective, it's consistent where it's going to be every time, and it feels like it's part of the website. I'm just curious to see what your thoughts on that are.
I love it. And listen, when you have the ability to control that HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, the world is your oyster. So if I'm not a fan of SPAs, single page architectures, the React world and the Vue world, and before that was Angular. Why? There's a lot of junk going on there. I'm a page-centric person. That's the old web. That's the 90s web that I grew up with, is you created a page for that and you had navigation. Well, then we got mobile and everything went to shit because, like, I can't focus on this click path. Okay, cool, get it. But you're onto it. I should be able to, depending on if the architecture's open, right, have a location. It could be almost like back in the day when the little hidden tracking cookies that you couldn't see, but they were a little image, because that had the Google Analytics jazz. I just want to be able to inject my stuff. Just let me have a little door here. And then when that page loads, I will be part of the page lifecycle, and I will come in, and then boom, my UI UX will float because of the CSS. And I could have it be movable all around the screen if I wanted to. Or I could peg it to the right, akin to like an extension if you wanted to build it that way. You totally could do that. It's HTML and CSS and JavaScript. That's what it should be. That's what the web was built on. And that allows, with a Z-index property, to put wherever you want, on top of things, underneath things, etc. All the power's there. It's just, will you let me go through a door? And if they don't, then you're going out to the extension world and you're going outside of where it should be. It should live in the app, in my book, because then you control it too. One of the things that, I'll shut up because I want to have you guys keep asking me questions. One of the things I think is super important is to let the user control their prompt. I am super not a fan of all these harnesses, all these wrappers. It's like, you're eating a candy bar. You have no clue how that was made. No clue. So when you send that prompt, you may think, oh, that's what the model's interpreting. No way. No way, Jose. As it is, you saw me append to that initial request, and I keyed off of the keyword create. I basically just do a string compare. And I said, hey, if the prompt includes the word create, ding, 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 winner, winner, chicken dinner, come in and inject at the end of that prompt the ability to export or write out the JSON to trigger some agentic stuff. We don't know what's going on under the hood. And that, to me, is a little troubling. It could be completely adulterating your prompt or changing it in ways that you don't know, and then the results don't come back the way you think they should. You keep tweaking your prompt, it might be futile. So good stuff. Transparency, and yes, some type of a floating 110%. But so long as it's in the DOM and part of that page, then you've already got access to all the content of that page. That's why you don't need then to go over here and say, I'm going to let you ask about a website. I don't need to give you that permission. You're already on the page. So it solves a security model issue too, I think. Great question.
I think like you would see another friction point if you see with these enterprise browsers and built-in AI, right? So if you're in an enterprise setting and like the system administrator like whoever is the system administrator for your Chrome, they can disable built-in AI. Like,
Yes.
so can they disable, like, I mean, loading, I don't know how they can disable transformers.js, like if you're loading like a model, but
From a
like,
CDN.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question. It is definitely the hoops, and that's why I brought the Salesforce example up. It's definitely the hoops that you have to jump through when you go to these other providers. You have to play by their rules. They're the ones that made the software. I'm just here to try and do something to help the client, and maybe they don't want that. And there's that monetary play here. They've got a whole agentic layer into this product. There's a whole process on how to build that stuff. It's just ad nauseum in terms of UIs and GUIs. And it's like, whoa, I can write a simple prompt in a simple box and I can get something out of it. Why are you making me do all of this? Because they're trying to control the non-determinism. They're trying to stop that. But at the end of the day, do they want to be known as an open platform? That's probably up to marketing. Good luck with that. So I'm a huge fan of DocuSign. They've done it right at this point. If they turn this off, I'm going someplace else because I can build all these different things in different platforms. That's not the issue. The issue is, do you give me those open doors to be able to extend your platform? And with what Google's doing with the built-in Gemini Nano and taking that maintenance off of my shoulders, I like that. I really do. Do I want to worry about pulling the latest UNCS model down? No, I do not. I've been doing programming for a long time. If you take that off of my hands to have to worry about, okay, maybe Google I/O is coming up at the end of this month, May, maybe there's going to be V4 Nano. That would be my guess. And I'm not looking to, say anything inside information. I don't have any. But I bet there'll be the next version of Gemini Nano because it just released Gemma. And it'll be even more performant. It'll be more blah, 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 blah. That automatically happens for us. Don't have to maintain it.
But isn't that like, I think you're using the prompt API, right? You're not using the writer or summarizer or, I don't know,
Prompt
like
API.
translation API. So I thought the philosophy behind prompt API was like kind of give developers like a feel of how it is to like use Gemini Nano, but it was never meant to go GA, meaning like it would always sit behind a flag. I thought that was the philosophy when they started this prompt API, because that was the first thing I think they released, but they said, hey, we're just giving you this prompt API so that developers can familiarize with how to use this thing. But it's like kind of too free-form. We want to give purpose-built APIs like Summarizer API, Translate API, Rewrite API, or like 4 or 5 things. Yeah.
There was a survey probably 6 months ago now, and I want to say Kenji sent it out from Google asking, do you like this API? Do you like this? What APIs do you use? I filled out the survey. Prompt API. I don't need a summarizer. I don't need you to tell me. I just need a raw prompt. I need an ability to send my prompt in and then tweak from there, guys. Let me work with what the model gives me, and I got the rest. Translator API, different story. Voice, different story. But when you're talking about text generation, I don't need a summarizer API. I would never use it. It's useless to me. I need the ability to come in and ask questions of things. I'm in the legal space. You're gonna clip my wings if that's the case, and then I would drop working with this stuff, and I'd go with transformers because then I could pick whatever model I want and be able to capitalize on that because it's more open. So thankfully we have options, which is always good. Yeah. But that survey, I never heard about the results of it. But Kenji, I believe, sent that out. I was in the early adopters program. So I don't know.
I do just want to jump in because it is a little past 7 o'clock. So I want to wrap up here, but Don, this was incredible. I was really inspired by your talk and wanted to see if there were any other last questions from people who haven't spoken yet. Matthew, I don't know if you spoke. I don't know if you asked a question yet. can go ahead. Oh, I thought your hand was raised.
Oh, sorry. I just clicked the clap button. But yeah, great talk.
Thanks,
Yeah,
guys.
this is wonderful.
Appreciate you. Appreciate you.
Yeah, and I just want to say, so yeah, last Wednesday of each month, we'll do a different presentation or maybe just a casual conversation. And so it sounds like the web GPU community is also going to be involved more going forward, which is exciting to hear about. But yeah, I mean, you all coming and attending really makes this group what it is. So again, shout out to the Web AI regulars and Don. So excited to have you a part of our community now. Thank you. I love your contributions. But yeah, you all make this group what it is. And last call, Jason and I were talking about some goals for the community for the year. And we really hope we can kind of get a consistent turnout of 20 to 25 regulars and just continue to evolve this community and this conversation because it's obviously so important to have. So yeah, thank you all.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a good night.
Great.